So within an hour.
Grab a key. So I don't know if there's like a
If you'd like to use that, we can absolutely use that. Sure.
So it's going to get finished, but he was out in the hospital 2 weeks ago with a number of things. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. History of UTI, so but he got discharged from the hospital. He's been here for about 2 days. They think he's not responding to the rehab services, so they're basically kicking him out. He needs to go to skilled nursing. So he has but he's not capable of doing what he needs to do to go back there. So new place. Yeah, it's a holiday weekend, and nobody wants to go there over the weekend. They were discharging him Tuesday. They told John on Thursday night. So all day yesterday, that's why he's not here. So all day yesterday, he was on the phone and talking to here, trying to find who has an available Medicaid bed and skilled nursing place that's not 2 hours away. So he thinks he has 3 viable options. Yeah. So he's become an expert at a lot of things. He has to be an expert. Yeah. She seems good. You can tell. Yes. We've seen it. That makes sense. Yeah. And they got to be together. It's amazing. When are you coming? Okay.
He was my finger doctor.
We are. Where will you be? Oh, do you really? That's awesome. Okay. Okay. Put you in there. We'll probably be a TBA depending on what the situation is Tuesday, Wednesday, but you should definitely tell me where you're going to be.
I'm still trucking. You're amazing.
Well, you kept up checking for most of it.
Robbins, R-O-B-B. I get you. You're doing fine. Yep. Preston, you need the 317. Yep. 292.
There's no chair.
24.
There's no
84.
There's no
Perfect. Yep. Are you coming to see somebody? Yeah. Oh, good.
say there's no chair, room for a chair.
I'm in.
We used to call the big uncomfortable chairs.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you get to see her. Who else and where else will you be while you're here? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's amazing. We love Asheville. We just came back from there here in June. We go every year. We didn't go last year, but we usually stay in the same. We stay in a hotel that's right at the entrance to our like it's right over the village. And we just go to cool shops and soak up the energy and the food and the people, the arts. And it's just really lovely. Yeah. We every time we're there, we say we should probably just look at moving. How far is that from your mom? Okay. Yeah. That's okay. So you rented a trailer for the whole time that you're, or like a camper? Yeah. That's amazing. And are you driving or is that driving? Yeah. Yeah. That's so fun. Yeah. Right, and you can move as you need to. Yeah. 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 Yes.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so wonderful to be able to pray together, both here in our sanctuary and with all of those joining us virtually. We're so glad that you're here. For those of us in our sanctuary, thank you already for keeping your masks on the whole time that we're together. If you need to use the restroom, you can go out through those doors, through Mendelssohn Social Hall. If you keep walking, you'll find the restrooms. We are delighted this morning, Charlie, to have you and your whole family with us as you become bar mitzvah. We're going to begin in our Sidorim on page 74, singing Ma Tovu. Continue on page 77, praying together on the top of that page. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware. We would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofei chol basar, umachli la'asot.
Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi tehorai, ata verata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi, ve'ata mishamra bikirbi, Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi tehorai.
Baruch atah Adonai, asher biado nefesh kol chai, v'ruach kol basar ish. We continue on page 86. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Let's read in English towards the bottom of that page. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths, and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Baruch atah Adonai, hamlamed Torah la'amo Yisrael. On page 88. Having just said the blessing for the study of Torah, we study this sacred text. Elu devarim she'ein lahem shi'or, she'adam ochel perotehem ba'olam hazeh, v'hakeren kayemet lo le'olam haba, ve'elu hein. We read together, these are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all, because it leads to them all. We'll continue on page 94. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Let's read in English. Blessed is the one who spoke and the world came to be. Blessed is the one. Blessed is the one who continually authors creation. Blessed is the one whose word is deed. Blessed is the one who decrees and fulfills. Blessed is the one who is compassionate towards the world. Blessed is the one who is compassionate towards all creatures. Blessed is the one who rewards the reverent. Blessed is the one who exists for all time, ever enduring. Blessed is the one who redeems and saves. Blessed is God's name. With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty. For you are the source of life in the universe, one God, life of the universe, praised and glorious ruler. Your name is eternal. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mechulal batishbachot. Page 96.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסון ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינוך, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארני. לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
On page 105, Baruch atah Adonai, El melech gadol batishbachot, El hahodaot Adon haniflaot, Habocher b'shirei zimra, Melech elchei ha'olamim. Praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighting in song, eternal majesty. Chati Kaddish is on the next page.
ויתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם לעולם ימיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרבר ונעשה ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן.
We rise for the call to prayer, page 108.
Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Please feel free to be seated. We'll continue reading in Hebrew on page 110. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol, hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha berachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or sha'asita yifa'arucha sela, or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkeh chulanu mehera la'oro, Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. On page 113, in the middle of the page we read together. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us, as we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael, b'ahava. middle of page 123. And what is my lifespan? I'm like a man gone out of Egypt. The Red Sea parts, I cross on dry land. 2 walls of water on my right and on my left. Pharaoh's army and his horsemen behind me. Before me is the desert, perhaps the promised land too. That is my lifespan. On page 122, Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא זילות אוסף אלה, נורא זילות אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. שירה חדשה שיפו גאונים, לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם עודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, עובדכנו מעכה יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Amen. On page 124, we rise as we pray together, Tefillah.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, אלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחייך כל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הדל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחייך כל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך משום חיי ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמנת על החיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, הכתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירינו אדוני אדונינו, אדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכינו, ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד קודלך, ולנצח נצחים דרושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please feel free to be seated. We'll continue singing on page 132.
ישמחו במלאכותך שומרי 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 שבת, קוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלאכותך שומרי 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 שבת, קוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי מקדשי שביעי שבת, כולם ישמעו ויתענגו מטובך השבת. ישמחו במלאכותך שומרי 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 שבת, קוראי עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת, חמדות ימים אותו קראת השבת. ישמחו במלאכותך שומרי 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 שבת, קוראי עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלאכותך שומרי 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 שבת, קוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלאכותך שומרי 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 שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, רציב במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך. סבינו מטובך ושמחנו Adonai Mekadosh Shabbat.
Amen. On the top of page 137, we'll read first in Hebrew, and then in English, and then in Hebrew again. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Be'amcha Yisrael U'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel U'thi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. On page 138. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzor hayenu magen yishenu, atahu ledor vador. Let's read together. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one, whose mercies never end, O compassionate one, whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lehodot.
Sim shalom tova uvracha, chen v'chesed berachamim berachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, barchinu yotzreinu kulanu kechad, ve'or panecha, hiver panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed berachamim berachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, Torat chayim ve'ahavat chesed, ve'ahavat chesed, u'tzedaka u'bracha ve'rachamim, ve'chayim ve'shalom, sim shalom, tova u'bracha, chen v'chesed berachamim berachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, v'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, b'chol עת ובחושע, בשלומך שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ברחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Amen. We take these precious moments now for our own private prayers.
Shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru amen. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, amen. Oseh shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru amen. V'al kol yoshvei tevel, amen.
Amen. In just a moment, we will begin Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the reading of the Torah. It'll be an honor to call on Brian and Lisa Rose, who will open up our ark, and an enormous honor to call Charlie on your grandparents and your parents and you, who will line up here as we prepare to pass the Torah to you. So we'll call on Lena and Robert Gelfand, Myrna and Sheldon Silver, and Julie Gelfand and Mitch Silver. Charlie, I'm going to call you to that center podium where you'll read for us in the middle of page 245. At this time, I'll invite everybody to rise, and I'll invite our ark openers, Brian and Lisa, forward.
Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah. And let their children, who do not yet know it, hear, that they, too, may learn to revere Adonai your God.
Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, udvar Adonai mirushalayim, seu she'arim rashechem, useu pitrei olam, yavo melech hakavod, mi'uz melech hakavod, Adonai tzvaot, u'melech hakavod, Selah.
Charlie, Zeh HaTorah that Moses kibel miSinai. This is the Torah that Moses received from on Mount Sinai. It contains within it all of the secrets, all of the treasures of our people, the laws of goodness and of kindness, and all of the mitzvot. Moses passed it on to Joshua, and Joshua passed it on to the judges to the prophets, and the prophets to the elders. And so it went from one generation to the next, from teacher to disciple, from grandparents to parent to student. And now, Charlie, it is an honor to pass you the Torah through the generations of your family.
L'dor vador, l'dor vador, l'dor vador, agid godnecho, u'lenetzach netzachim, u'lenetzach netzachim, kedushat halaktim.
In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amu Yisrael B'kidushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai iti, ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. לך אדוני הגדולה, הגבורה, והתפארת, והנצח וההוד. יכול בשמיים ובארץ, יכול בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה, ועמית נשיא לכל ראש.
Please be seated. Shabbat Shalom. In our Torah this week, we read from Parshat Nitzavim. This is the same Parsha that we'll read actually on Yom Kippur morning. This is a Parsha that tells us that we should choose. We always have a choice between life and death, between blessing and curse. The Torah tells us, of course, to choose life. And so as we choose life this morning, as we celebrate you, Charlie, it is an honor. We're going to be calling up a number of people for Aliyot and also a number of different Torah readers. You can relax in your seat a little bit. You're at the very end. So for our very first Aliyah, it's an honor to call on Lisa Gelfand, Shara Gelfand, and Lena Gelfand. Ta'amdu Me'ira Tova Bat Aharon Yisrael V'Leah Mendel V'Shendel Hana Bat Aharon Yisrael V'Leah Mendel V'Leah Mendel Bat Mendel V'Esther Rachel La'aliyah L'Torah. And if you're following along in your maroon-colored Chumash, we'll be reading from Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1, which can be found on page 1540.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. V'haya ki yavo'u elecha kol hadvarim ha'ela habracha v'haklala asher natati lefanecha v'hashevota el levavcha v'chol hagoyim asher hadyachan Adonai Elohecha shama v'shavta ad Adonai Elohecha v'shamata b'kolo kechol asher anochi mitzavcha hayom ata uvincha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha.
Ready? Yeah. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Et Torato. Sorry. Natan B'Tocheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach and Mazel Tov to each of you. We'll invite you to return to your seats as we call on our second Aliyah. Ya'amdu well, first I'll say it in English. It's an honor to invite forth Myrna Silver, Sheldon Silver, and Scott Silver. Ya'amdu, Miriam Leah bat Moshe, Lev, Hannah Basha, Shalom Isa, Ben Moshe, Shmuel, Vatavia, Shmuel ben Shalom Isa, Miriam Leah Aliyah LaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai HaMavorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMavorach Leolam Voed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'shav Adonai Elohecha et shavuatecha v'rachamecha v'shav v'kibatzecha mikol ha'amim asher hifitzecha Adonai Elohecha shama im Adonai nidchacha b'kivtzei hashamayim misham yikbetzecha Adonai Elohecha umisham yikchecha v'haviecha Adonai Elohecha el haaretz asher yirshu avotecha v'yirishta v'hivitecha v'herbecha me'avotecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nota b'tuchenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach and Mazel Tov to each of you as well. For our third Aliyah, it's an honor to call on Charlie's sisters, Hannah Silver and Eva Silver, and Hannah will also be our third reader, so the two of you will recite the blessing together down there, and then you'll come up to read the Torah. Ya'amdu, Hannah Sarah bat Moshe Aharon, Uvarda Miriam, Esther Tevya bat Moshe Aharon, Uvarda Miriam la'aliyah LaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam ba'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Umal Adonai Elohecha et lavavcha ve'et lavav zarecha le'ahava. Et Adonai Elohecha be'kol lavavcha u'bechol nafshecha le'ma'an chayecha. Ve'natan Adonai Elohecha et kol ha'alot ha'ele al oivecha ve'al sonecha asher radafuha. Ve'ata tashuv ve'shomata ve'kol Adonai asita et kol metzutav asher anochi metzicha hayom.
Wonderful job. Yasher Koach to you. If you want to join your sister and chant the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And for our fourth Aliyah, our reader will, Charlie, our reader will be your tutor, Sherry Granite. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. And for the Aliyah, we'll call on Jacqueline Manning and Joey Gelfand. Ya'amdu, Leah Miriam, Bat Miriam, Leah, V'Yosefa, Aiden, Bat, Shendel, Hannah, La'aliyah, LaTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam ba'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai, Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'hotircha Adonai Elohecha b'chol ma'aseh yadecha b'fri v'itnecha u'b'fri v'hemtecha u'b'fri admatcha l'tova ki yashuv Adonai lasus alecha l'tov ka'asher sas al avotecha Ki tishma b'kol Adonai Elohecha lishmor mitzvotav v'chukotav haktuva b'sefer haTorah hazeh ki tashuv el Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha ki hamitzvah hazot Asher Anochi Mitzavcha Hayom Lo Nifleti Mimcha Velo Rechoka Hi.
Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher natan lanu Torat emet, V'hayei olam nata b'toheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai, Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach to all of you. And now, for our fifth aliyah, it's an honor to call on Julie Gelfand and Mitch Silver. Ya'amdu, Varda Miriam, Bat Aharon Yisrael, V'Leah Mendel, V'Moshe Aharon, Ven Shalom, Isav, U'Miriam, Leah, La'aliyah, L'Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Lo v'shamayim hi lemor, mi ya'ala lanu, hashmiana hashamayim avi kachecha lanu, v'yashmienu otav v'na'asena, v'lo me'ever layam hi lemor, mi ya'aver lanu, el ever hayam v'yikachecha lanu, v'yashmienu otav v'na'asena, ki karov elecha hadavar me'od, b'ficha u'vilvavecha la'asoto, re'eh, נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב, ואת המוות ואת הרע. אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו. והיית ורבית וברכך אדוני אלוהיך בארץ אשר אתה בא שמה לרשתה. ואם יפנה לבבך ולא תשמע ונידחת והשתחווית לאלוהים אחרים ועבדתם.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher natan lanu Torat emet, V'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach and mazel tov to you both. You can join Charlie on the bima. We're going to pause on our Torah reading for just a moment as we draw strength from Torah and turn to Mishaberach Lacholim, Mishaberach for all of those who are in need of healing. We turn in our Siddur, in our blue books, to page 253. And we think particularly of those in our community who are in need of healing this Shabbat. We pray for Sheldon Cohn, Wayne Silverman, Carrie Bellows, Andrew Bider, Esther Mendelson, Ronald James Sullivan, Dennis Gelbart, Seema Tolchinsky, Karen Zandy, Michael Ben Mindel, Sandy Rubin, Diana Binder, Elise Langenfield, Asher Gedalia Ben Malka, Shelley Stone, Sheila Lambie, Elena Klein-Angus, Janice Sandberg, Naum Legum, Alana Miriam Bat Chava, Fred Siegel, Eliezer Shlomo Ben Shindel, Rabbi Herbert Bronstein, Laura Ifmar, Ronald Silverman, Carol Herbert, Steve Siegel, Kelly Watoska, Clifford Levy, Bruce Perlin, Norman Grad, Sharon Grad, Leah Passman, Brooks McBurney, Yaakov Ben Zissel, Sarah Malka Batfega, and Mike Welglartz. If I have mispronounced the names of any of these people, or if you have a name of a loved one for whom you pray for healing, I invite you to whisper those names aloud at this time. Misha Berach is on page 253. It is now an honor to call on our bar mitzvah, Charlie Mayer Silver, who will come forward to read from the Torah for the first official time. Ya'amod, Ya'amod, Ya'amod habar mitzvah, Ya'amod. Chaim Moshe ben Aharon, Uvarda Miriam la'aliyah la'torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Higadati lachem hayom ki avod tovedun lo ta'arihun yamim al chadama asher ata over et chayarden lavo shama l'rishta haidoti bahem hayom et hashamayim v'et haaretz Ha'chaim v'chamavet natati lefanecha habracha v'haklala uvaharta b'chaim lema'an tihiyeh ata v'zarecha lechavat Adonai elecha lishmoa bekolo u'ledov kavo ki hu chayecha be'orech yamecha lashevet al hadama asher Nishba Adonai lavotecha levraham leitak leYaakov latet lachem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Charlie, go ahead, give your parents a hug and a kiss. And while the Torah is still in our midst, we'll offer you this special Misha Berach on the occasion of your bar mitzvah. Misha Berach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yavarech et Chaim Moshe ben Aharon uVarda Miriam shehigia lemitzvot v'ala lichvod hamakom ulichvod haTorah. May God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing to you, Charlie. You have reached the age of responsibility, and you were called to the Torah for the very first time. We celebrate the dedication that brought you to this sacred moment today. May God watch over you. May your parents continue to raise you to full adulthood, leading you to a life filled with blessing. The blessings of Torah, of Jewish learning, of chuppah, of a joyful and loving relationship, and of ma'asim tovim, the blessings of a life filled with good deeds. May you find favor before God and the entire Jewish community. And together we say, Amen.
Amen. Mazel tov. Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov.
For the honor of lifting the silver, we call on your dad, Charlie Mitch Silver, and for the honor of dressing the Torah, we call on your mentor, Nina Henry. I'll invite everyone to please rise as the Torah is lifted. Guys can be seated. We are going to turn to our Haftorah reading this morning, which comes to us from the book of Isaiah. This is the very last in 7 Haftorah readings that mark the 7 Shabbats of consolation, where we go from the saddest day of the Jewish people, Tisha B'Av, until the new year. We know that the new year is right around the corner, and Isaiah, preaching to a people who are in exile, gives this message of hopeful return. If you'd like to follow along in your Chumash, we'll be reading from Isaiah chapter 60, verse 11, which can be found on page 1615.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet b'tzedek. Hine Adonai Yishmiya el katzeh ha'aretz Imru levatzion Hine yishech ba Hine secharo ito uf'ulato lefanav Vekar'u lahem Am hakodesh geulei Adonai Velach ikaret derusha ir lo ne'ezava Mizeh ba me'adom hamud begadim mibotra Zeh hadur bilvusho so'eh berov kocho Ani medaber b'tzdaka rav lechoshia Madua Adom Nilvushecha Uvgadecha Kedorech Begat Puraha Darachti Levadi Umamim Ein Ish Iti Bedrahem Be'afi Be'ermasem Bachamati Vayez Nitzcham Al Gadai Bechol malbushai egalti ki yom nakam belibi ushnat geulai ba ve'abi ve'ein ozer v'ashtomem ve'ein someh v'atoshali zro'i v'chamati hismachani v'avus ami b'afi Ve'ashakrem b'hamati ve'orid le'oret nitzcham Hasde Adonai azkir tehilot Adonai ke'al kol asher gamalanu Adonai Baravtu levei Israel asher gemalam kerachamav ufrov hasadav Vayomer achami hema Panim lo isakeru Vayehi lahem leMoshiach Bechol sarataham lo sar Umalach panav hoshiam Be'achavato v'chamlato hu ge'alam Vayinat lem vayinas em Kol yamei olam Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Sur kol haolamim Tzadik bechol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer v'oseh Ha'medaber u'mkayem Shekol devarav emet v'tzedek Al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im Ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'linucha Lechavod u'letifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach Umvarhim otach Yitbarach shimcha befi kol chai Tamid la'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Urishamo
Mekadesh HaShabbat
Amen. Charlie, you can take a deep breath. You did the most wonderful job chanting from Torah and chanting from Haftorah. But what's more wonderful than that is the attitude that you have brought to this whole process. You've taken it so seriously, and you have really shown not only me, the rabbi, and not only your parents, but really your whole community, that you truly are a bar mitzvah. We are all so, so very proud of you. At this point, we're going to prepare to return the Torah to the ark. And I'm going to call on Brian and Lisa Rose to come forward one more time. I'll invite everybody to please rise as I place the Torah back in Charlie's hands.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nisgav shmo levado. Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted. God's Torah is perfect, reviving the soul.
God's teaching is sure, making wise the simple.
God's precepts are right, delighting the mind.
God's mitzvot are clear, giving light to the eyes.
God's word is pure, enduring forever.
God's judgments are true and altogether just. Please be seated. Charlie has prepared a Devar Torah, some teaching for us this morning.
Good morning and Shabbat Shalom. My parasha is Nitzavim. It focuses on Moses' farewell speech to the Israelites before crossing the Jordan River to get to their promised land. Moses is 93 and about to die. This will be his last speech to the people of Israel before he goes. Through Moses, God decides to make a covenant with the Israelites. If the people don't worship other gods, they will receive their promised land. If not, God will put plagues, curses, and devastation upon them. Following this, Moses encourages the people to choose life and not death on God's word, basically telling them to stay loyal. However, God offers the people a second chance if they do not follow the covenant the first time. This brings us to the theme of the parasha, known as tshuva. Tshuva is a form of redemption given by one person to another, giving them a second chance. This parasha tells those reading to give others another opportunity to redeem themselves. This is a very important theme throughout humanity that comes up in everyone's lives every day. Mistakes are the best way to learn and grow. Everyone makes mistakes, and that will always be a part of your life. Some mistakes are more significant than others, but I feel that in most situations, everyone deserves a second chance. Staying on the topic of second chances, for my Bar Mitzvah project, I chose to volunteer at Friends of Pet Traits, a Chicago-based rescue that helps dogs, cats, guinea pigs, bunnies, birds, and other animals find their forever homes. My dog Normie is in fact adopted from this rescue. Friends of Pet Traits is run by a wonderful and selfless woman named Sherry Berliner, who let me volunteer at her shelter. At the shelter, I walk dogs, sweep floors in the cat rooms, clean guinea pig and bunny cages, and finally play with the puppies. I feel that by helping those animals find a permanent home, I am also giving them a second chance. Although I did not specifically work with homeless people, my family has a tradition that when we see a homeless person, we give them a gift card. In front of me, there's a box full of Dunkin' Donuts gift cards. We'd love for you to pay it forward and join our family tradition. Before you leave this morning, please take one by the front door on your way out. And for all those watching via live stream, you can still do the same. Being a bar mitzvah to me means taking on more responsibility. For example, I am now able to fast on Yom Kippur, read from the Torah, and officially become a man. It means the world to me to know that I have my family, friends, and classmates to celebrate this special day with me. It makes it that much more important knowing I can become a bar mitzvah with all of you by my side. Finally, I'd like to thank everyone who helped me during my process of studying Torah. First, I'd like to thank Sherry Granite for helping me learn the trope phrases and blessings. I always look forward to seeing you every Wednesday for our very long sessions. I couldn't have done anything without you. Next, I would like to thank Nina Henry for being an amazing mentor. We had some great conversations that were very meaningful to me. I enjoyed our time together very much. Thank you, Rabbi Weinberg, for introducing my parashah and for getting me started with this process. Thank you, Rabbi Marks, for meeting with me several times and helping me edit my Devar Torah. You helped me boost my confidence so much, and I can't say thank you enough for that. Giamatapa. Thank you guys for always being such loving grandparents. You guys have always helped me, whether it was school or learning new life lessons. Thank you guys for always being there for me. I love you. Bobby and Papa, you guys always make my Sunday whenever I get to visit you. Bobby, I love whenever we get to take you out for lunch. Papa, I love whenever we get to go on our long walks around the block. I love you. Eva and Hannah, you're amazing sisters, even though we've had our differences. I enjoy walking the dogs with you, playing the game horse, playing ping pong, playing board games, and driving with you both. Thank you for all the support and help you've given me. I love you. Mom, you worked so hard to make this day happen, and I cannot thank you enough. I know that whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed or sad, you are always there to comfort me. You are my go-to person when it comes to my emotions. My favorite summer days are when I get to spend my time with just you and me. And let's not forget about how much easier school is because you are always there by my side. I love you so much, and thank you for giving me the best 13 years a kid could ask for. I love you. Dad, same as Mom, I know how hard you worked, and I want to say thank you. You have always been so incredibly involved in my life to the point where I can't even remember the last sports game you missed. You have always been there for everything. I know you don't see yourself as one, but you are my personal trainer/coach. You have helped me progress so much, and I can't say thank you enough. Thank you for making me be the luckiest kid on the planet. I love you. I also want to thank everyone else here today for always pushing me to do my best. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. That's beautiful. We learn in the prophets that one of the ways that we'll know that the Messiah has arrived is that the hearts of parents will be turned to their children, and the hearts of children will be turned to their parents. So with that in mind, it's an honor, Charlie, to call on your parents, Julie and Mitch, to come forward to share some words of blessing with you.
I think the first 4 months of your life were spent in the nook of my arm. I could hardly believe how little you were, but even more so, I couldn't believe your full head of blonde hair. I mean, and you continued to be a mama's boy for about the next 7 years. Of course, you kind of had 3 mothers. One day when you were 2, Hannah looked at me and declared, "Oh my God, look at all the balls laying around our house. We have a boy." With 3 mothers, you could only be sensitive, thoughtful, and caring. But in our family, it really does take a village. You've had an entire cheering section from the moment you were born, and certainly in most of your sports games you've ever played. 4 grandparents, 2 sisters, and a mom and a dad on the sidelines. Your first sentence was, "I miss Tsitsi." We'd lost our dog when you were 2, and you missed her terribly. You and I share a passion for animals, and using your cute little words, you would plea for us to get another dog. So instead, we got 2. George and Goldie's rescue story was something else, but eventually it led us to the rescue shelter Friends of Petrons. Fast forward, we gave you some literature to choose from, a list of bar mitzvah projects. You couldn't decide and exclaimed, "But they all need me." Ultimately, you chose something near and dear to your heart that you could do all on your own and in person, and spent many, many hours volunteering your time there. But I'm especially grateful we didn't end up with 3 more dogs, 2 bunnies, and a chinchilla. Being compassionate is kind of your thing. One vacation, we found ourselves in Seattle. Your father insisted it would be the adventure to take public transportation to our hotel. So after taking planes, trains, and walks to our hotel, you were an emotional wreck. We finally figured out you had been affected by observing all of the homeless people you'd encountered. Lucky for us, Seattle is home to the first Starbucks, and there is one on every corner. That turned out to be the most expensive vacation we ever took. We handed out Starbucks gift cards to every homeless person we saw. And so began the tradition of keeping them in our car at all times and helping less fortunate people, all because of you. You don't understand the unfairness of the world, and frankly, I don't either. I'll never forget the day Derek Chauvin's verdict came out. You were in the car and you were on the phone with a friend, and you told your friend, I know justice has been served, but really I just wish no one did terrible things and had to go to jail. Charlie, you have quite the moral compass. You've taught me so much, especially as I get to see the world through your eyes. From you, I've learned to be more compassionate and to embrace passion. It's no secret that you are a sports aficionado. It all started in 2016 when the Denver Broncos, Bubby's hometown, were in the Super Bowl. It was the first time you were invested in a game. They lost, and you cried yourself to sleep. Not the last time that happened either. As a sports fanatic, you've taught me how to spin my ping pong ball, curve my bowling ball, and slam my ball while partnering up for pickleball. You've taught me about infield fly rules, backcourt violations, and roughing the kicker. I'm making you sound perfect, and of course you are not, because who is? Daddy and I still have a thing or two to teach you, and someday I'm going to get you to sit down for an entire dinner without dunking a basketball between bites. We know being Jewish is also a big part of your identity. Your Hebrew name, Chaim, means life, and Meir means from the light. While you may think that basketball is life, and Meir means a lighted court for a pickup game, it actually means you are the light of our lives.
Thank you, Mommy.
And I'm going to teach Mitch to bring 2 speeches and not make fun of me.
So somehow it disappeared, but I got it on my phone, so we're okay. Charlie, the emotions you're seeing out here today are really a cocktail of the planning and the replanning. Whew. And just how grateful we are to have all of our family and friends here today, both in person and online. We love you all. Thank you so much. I'm going to lighten up a bit, and I'm going to tell you a bit about Charlie and dogs. Let me just start by saying that Charlie loves all animals, but especially he loves dogs. When Charlie sees a dog sticking its head out the window of the car when we're driving, from the back seat we hear an, "Aww." When there's a TV commercial featuring a dog, we hear from the couch in the next room, "Aww." And when it comes to loving our own dogs, Normie and Georgia, we hear an awful lot of "awws" around the house. And if you heard a few stories about Charlie's love of dogs, you might just let out an awe of your own. For example, when making his packing list for his 5th grade Shabbaton trip, on the list was remember pillow, remember pajamas, and don't forget to kiss Normie and Georgia goodbye, but especially Georgia. Aw. In fact, I would argue in many ways Charlie is like a dog. Charlie's full of energy, just like a dog. Charlie does not walk from point A to point B. Charlie skips, he shuffles, he runs, and occasionally he'll bump into me, tell me that it's an offensive foul, and then say, "What? It was a foul." Charlie is just playful like a dog, too. He must have a ball with him wherever he goes, so much that Julie carries a ball with her in her purse at all times. Around the house, we have a basketball hoop in virtually every room, and Charlie doesn't pass one without taking his shot with great energy, as you will see in his montage. When Charlie turned 6, he became obsessed with sports. Charlie would wake up in the morning and watch SportsCenter. He would come home after school and watch SportsCenter. And he would record games on the DVR so that he could watch them that night, despite the fact that he knew the outcome because he had watched SportsCenter twice that day. And before I continue, I just have to share one of my favorite SportsCenter stories. We were watching SportsCenter one morning, and the announcer had said that the Bulls had just lost a game. And Eva was watching with us, And she turned to Charlie and she said, "Charlie, the Bulls would stink without Derrick Rose." And Charlie responded by saying, "No, they wouldn't, Eva. A few days ago, they just beat the Denver Chicken Nuggets." Classic Charlie. Charlie, you're lovable just like a dog, too. When Charlie was 6, my dad, who was a CPA at the time, had just come back from a continuing education class that he had to take for his CE credits. And when he returned to our house, Charlie said, "Tapa, where were you?" And my dad said, "I was at an accounting class." And Charlie said, "Silly Tapa, I already know how to count. I can teach you." Classic Charlie. But Charlie's most dog-like trait is thinking more about others than he thinks of himself. Charlie was really moved by an ESPN special about Jim Valvano, the basketball coach that died from cancer. After watching the special, Charlie asked if our family could donate to the Jimmy V Foundation. So we did, and Charlie matched the contribution from his own money. And then there was the time when Charlie said to me, "Dad," remember this? "If there's an NBA coach and he only has one arm, how does he call a timeout?" That's a good question, right? That's it, classic compassionate Charlie. So Charlie, you will go far in life if you keep doing what you've been doing your first 13 years. Stay full of energy, stay playful, always be loving and thoughtful, and continue to think more about others than you think of yourself. Oh, and keep wagging your tail. Mazel tov on all your hard work you put in here today. Mom and I are so proud of you. We love you so much.
Oh.
Oh.
It's your turn to receive. That was beautiful. Thank you. No, you stay up here. Charlie, you have so beautifully chanted your Torah and your half-Torah portions for us this morning, and you taught us as well. As you know, in this Torah portion, Moses continues to address the Israelites as they prepare to enter into the Promised Land. This is a Torah portion that is very dear to the hearts of the Jewish people, because this is the Torah portion that we read each year, not only on this Shabbat, Shabbat Nitzavim, but also each Yom Kippur morning. It contains messages that are eternal. They're relevant in every time and every place. And if we follow those messages, then we are bound to lead lives rich with meaning. Charlie, in your Devar Torah, you lifted up an important point. You talked about how the Israelites were presented with a choice. They could choose life or death. Then God, through Moses, tells us very clearly, choose life. It seems like the obvious choice, the easy choice even, is to choose life. Actually, though, it's profound. Charlie, in our lives, we are all faced with choices, big ones and small ones. The Torah here teaches us that our choices, all of them, they matter. The choices we make have consequences. And through our actions, we determine whether our life is full of blessings or curses, and not necessarily in a literal sense. We all know that difficult things that are beyond our control, can happen in life. The Torah isn't saying that doing the right thing protects you from pain. It does teach us, however, that we control our actions, and especially when things are difficult. We can choose how to react, and the Torah instructs us to choose to live, to choose to count your blessings. Charlie, this is something you already demonstrate in your life. You spoke about your work at Friends of Petrates, and you spoke about treating those who find themselves on the street with dignity, offering them some kindness and tzedakah. Here you go, with these Dunkin' Donut cards that I know Charlie and his family really do want you to take on your way out. These are some of the ways that you choose life. I expect, I'm pretty certain, that you'll continue to give tzedakah throughout the rest of your life. Charlie, it's a privilege now to be able to offer you the oldest blessing our tradition has to offer, the threefold priestly benediction in front of the ark. V'yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face always be lifted towards you, and may God grant you God's choicest of blessings, the blessing of shalom.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yosem lecha shalom.
And now it's an honor to present you with some gifts from the congregation. So first of all, before the ceremony this morning, you signed this bar mitzvah certificate, which reads in part that you have accepted the privileges and responsibilities of being a Jew, lifelong Torah study and the keeping of mitzvot, Shabbat, holy day and life cycle observances, participation in the life of the synagogue, the Jewish community, and Israel, dedication to Tikkun Olam, the perfection of our world. We also have your very own set of Machzor prayer books, which will come in handy for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. From the sisterhood, we have this beautiful Kiddush cup from which you'll drink at the end of the ceremony this morning. And hopefully that will be the first of many, many simchas and Shabbat and holiday observances that you'll use that Kiddush cup. And from the brotherhood, we have a beautiful picture frame that was engraved as well with today's date. We also have two extremely special gift certificates, you might say. One comes from the Jewish United Fund and our synagogue, and the other is from our synagogue and also Nifty. They are good for to help you pay the way towards your high school Israel experiences. Charlie, we can't wait for you to travel to Israel and to come back and tell us all about it. We are all so very proud of you. Yasher Koach, Mazel Tov, and you can go ahead and join your family. Don't sit down yet, though, because I'm going to invite the whole congregation to please rise as we turn to page 282 for Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, Atit Gedula Le'otzer Bereshit, Shelo Asanu Kegoyei Haratzon, Velo Samanu Kemishpachot Adama, Shelo Sam Chelekenu Kahem, Vekor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam, V'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu metaken olam b'malchut Shaddai v'nechar v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol haaretz hayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. In a few moments, we'll be on page 294 for Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. We extend our sympathies to Eileen Bernstein on the recent passing of her brother, Sid Becker. El Male Rachamim, O God full of compassion, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest under the wings of your presence to Sid Becker, our loved one who has entered eternity. Master of mercy, let him find refuge forever in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The eternal God is his inheritance. May he rest at peace. And let us say, Amen. We call to mind and to heart all those dear ones whose yahrzeits fall on this Shabbat. We lovingly remember Bernice Ahrens, Arthur A. Bauer, Fanny Benjamin, James Buckman, Rose Berkman, Theodore W. David, Nathan Diamond, Jane Favish, Beatrice Getz, Hyman Levin, Jacob Levin, Pearl Menas, Rose Neidickman, Jack Rabinovitz, Enid Roth, Edith Savitt, Margaret Slutsky, Sheldon Albert Turman, Louis Zandy, and David Grigorovich Udler. We remember, too, on the occasion of Charlie's bar mitzvah, cousin Larry Rose. If there are any names that I have mispronounced and should be corrected, or if anybody has the name of a loved one whom they wish to utter aloud, please do so at this moment. We invite the mourners to please rise. Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, is on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Bialma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chaye zachol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mivorach leolam ulamei almaya, v'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Zichronam levrachat, may all of their memories be for a blessing. It's an honor now to call Charlie back up to the bima, and also to call on Deb Hamilton and Jim Rosenberg to join us at this lectern as they lead us together. And first we'll sing Kiddush and then in Motzi. Kiddush can be found on pages 300 and 301. I'll invite the whole congregation to please rise.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'darat ha'nerit olam. V'hiu v'in b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות אחרית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו Adonai et Yom HaShabbat vayikadshehu. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
We'll invite you now to lead us in Motzi.
Before we do Motzi, Charlie, I have to tell you something. you know you're part of a people that have been around for many, many years. Traditions, stories, books have been written about them, videos. Charlie, you're a Cub fan. And last night I got a text from 3 of the spiritual leaders of the Cubs who recently left us. Rabbi Bryant, Rabbi Rizzo, and Rabbi Baez. They want to wish you a mazel tov, and from Baez, a thumbs up. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lachem min haaretz. Amen.
Well, Shabbat Shalom. Please feel free to be seated. This officially marks the end of our Shabbat morning service. In moments, though, we'll be setting up a very special montage for Charlie's bar mitzvah. For those of us watching from home, for those of you watching from home, Shabbat Shalom. You're welcome to stay online for the montage. Wishing everybody a Shabbat Shalom.
Mommy had a little baby. There he is, fast asleep. He's just a little plaything. Why not wake him up? Cute, cute little baby, little pee-pee, little toes. Now he's coming to me, crawl across the kitchen floor. Baby, baby, please let me hold him. I wanna make him stay up all night. Sister, sister, he's just a plaything. We wanna make him stay up all night. Yeah, we do. Well, I beat the drum and hold the phone. The sun came out today. We're born again. There's new grass on the field. Around the third and headed for home. It's a brown-eyed, handsome man. Anyone can understand the way I feel. Oh, put me in cold. I'm ready to play today. Put me in cold. I'm ready to play today. Look at me. I can be center field.
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I'm gonna get a scholarship to King's College. I probably shouldn't brag, but dag, I made stems. The problem is I got a lot of braids with no polish. I got a holler. Dad is the best, Dad is the best, Dad is the best. Dad is the best. I'm number 25, and he's number 1, because number 1 is the best.
The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. I said, the boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. I said, the boys are back in town. 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 Spread the word around. Guess who's back in town? You spread the word around.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut.
Yeah, baby. Come on.
All right, now talk, Char.
Hello. My name is Charlie. Hello.
Everybody wants me to be who they want me to be except you. All I wanna do is be with you. They all tell me that there's something strange. I don't wanna meet nobody new. All I wanna do is be with you. Life sounds like I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. That's what it sounds like. I'm alive. How come every day something jumps in the way, gets complicated? I feel devastated, but when I'm feeling down, I only wanna be with you. I can't afford the rent or remember checks I sent to pay off all my taxes and feed the president. But there's one thing I remember, I only wanna be with you. Life sounds like I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. This is what it sounds like. I'm alive. Life sounds like I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. This is what it sounds like. I'm alive. Break it down, break it down. You be Bonnie, I'll be your Clyde. Happy
Oh,